Welcome back, everyone. Looks like our parts have shown up. So that means we're gonna have to get into Pandora's box. We're gonna give Kalama a shot. I'm not sure, you know, the quality. I'm sure some people have good experiences and others don't. It just depends on what it looks like in there. If it looks like I want to replace that piston, then I guess I'll take the head in and get it honed real quick. They told me that they did a fresh top end on that bike. If it looks like a tiger got loose in there and scratched up everything, well, then I guess we have to buy a new head. I managed to get me some quality tools. Sure. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is start with some basics. Take out the 14mm drain plug here. Drain down the oil. I see a little bit of speckle. I don't see anything big. Next we're going to take off the shifter here. That's a 10mm. And then we'll get the chain off. Just take a screwdriver and slide off the master link. Oh, look at that. Paint. Like I said before, paint every bolt. I may skip around a little bit because this stuff is kind of easy. Taking off the motor accessories and getting the engine out in general is not really all that complicated. I did just test the compression and we have about 122 to 123 pounds. Sure, that's where we want that. Anyway, and that seems to be within reason. Got our carburetor undone. Was held in with the finest of plumbing materials. That's nice and questionable. Just pretend we didn't see that. Alright. Looks like somebody has monkeyed around with the wiring. That's really not a surprise. But they also left it all color coordinated here, so it's pretty idiot proof. Got black, yellow with red, black with purple. That should be fairly easy to get back where it belongs. That there's no bolt there. And you can also see that the frame tab is bent. That just leaves us the 3 mains. Now most of these quads have 3, but mine's special and it only has 2. So I'm going to show you a little trick if you want to, you know, if you're in a hurry, kind of like how these guys were in a hurry reassembling this bike, as you can kind of tell. But basically, hello, how are you doing? Do you approve? Does it smell good? Get out of here. Good Lord. Get out of here. This is unreal. It's not a wasp either, it's a bumblebee. They're not normally aggressive like that. Once you get this nut out, you're going to want to send this bolt through. And obviously these travel arms are being supported by this bolt, so they're going to want to fall down. Now some people jack underneath them to try and hold it in place, but being that it's on an angle like this and the shock, it's probably not going to hold it in place very well. So what I'm going to do is as I send this through, I'm going to be chasing it. Perfect donor drumstick. It's seen the end of its days. It finds new use as a wooden dowel. And that's another thing. If you don't have drumsticks, then go get yourself a wooden dowel or something. And as we're hitting on that, we're coming out this way. And I'm going to say we're probably almost there already, so I could probably start just pulling this nice and easy. Engine's unbolted. Here. Travel arms are still in place. There's no jack stand underneath. And now, all you gotta do is just tap this back through and just leave it in place, and there you go. Just make sure you know where your rod is, so when you want to go and put it back together, you can just reverse the process. No jack stands required. Tightly fitted little heavy unit, I must say. It doesn't surprise me that they bent these down here. So I went ahead and slid that back in a little bit. I'm going to leave the drumstick there. I don't want to booger up the threads too much, basically. And now I can roll this frame out of the way and we can get into the real guts of the project. Alright, I got our space all laid out. Now, I'm at a crossroads here. Normally you would pop this off, dome cover, and maybe give the piston a little bit of a feel and see if there's any kind of play. That will tell you whether or not they actually did the top end. And normally I would do that, but if I pop this off, I'm definitely going to have to do work here. Now I already have a new gasket, and you can save copper gaskets anyway, but I think we're just going to go ahead and pop the 4 here, slide her off, give it a visual inspection, look at the piston, see if there's blow by or anything like that. If it looks good, we're just going to assume it's okay. Then we're going to go on and do the bottom end. We'll put it all back together. If it seems like there's something wrong, I still have that piston. It's not that big of a deal. It's a little extra work, but it's not going to be a big problem. Best case scenario, they actually did do a top end, and it's fresh enough that it doesn't really matter. We save some money on the hone, we save some money on getting the head and the jug leveled. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the lower end. I'm just going to pop these 4, and I'll show you guys what the bore looks like. I'm kind of curious to see myself. Come on now. There we go. There we go. I can still see some cross hatching. I got one groove right there. I'm going to go ahead and get a light, and we'll see if we can show you guys a little more of that. I can still see cross hatch for the most part, so I think this is a newer head. So I'm kind of glad I didn't split the dome. Cylinder, piston, don't look too bad, honestly. A little discolored, but she had an exhaust leak, so... Alright, so... some of the sound we're hearing could very well be right there. That looseness, right there. From the crankshaft to the connecting rod. Still pretty confident it also has a crank seal leak, so... The last time I took a piston off of a crankshaft connecting rod, I had to heat up the piston to even get it to move remotely easy without damaging anything. That came out extremely easy. Looks like somebody had already spun this one out. I can't even get it to do anything, so we're going to have to get creative. If at first you don't succeed, grind again. So I'm in the process of extracting that now. It broke free. It is rotated. I was able to do a combination. I had to switch to the Phillips head here, the regular head here. Japan, stop this. Thankfully, good old Dremel here. Useful little tool. So I only nicked the case just slightly. Alright, we're just getting on inside here. Got these surrounding perimeter screws to take out. One was missing. And one of them was an Allen, which I actually don't mind. None of these were really torqued on. They were pretty easy to get off. Keep this pressed, and up she goes. And there is the first layer of this onion. I'm going to get her nice and clean, and then I'll continue splitting her. I'm also going to go over to the frame and probably do some cleaning there too, because it's bad. So I'm just kind of degreasing this block, and looking it over, I'd be willing to bet that nobody's ever been inside of this part of the engine, because that is a really, really tight fit. Doesn't look gouged at all. I don't see any kind of Yamaha bond or anything like that sticking out. Looks extremely tight, so I'm willing to bet this has never been split. This might very well be the factory original crank. And yeah, you can really see that play in there when I wiggle it back and forward. I'm just going to lightly go over it with my crappy engine cleaner here. Note the missing. So I've got no guilt in using up that whole bottle. I'm just going to lightly go over this surface until it's pretty much clean enough. We got to make sure that we get all this old material off, because in order to introduce a new gasket, it's got to be clean. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is remove our clutch pack here. We're going to take off these fasteners, probably do it in the old routine. I'm just going to be using a ratchet, so it's going to take a little bit, so I'll be right back with you in a second. One other little thing, these are number 8s, 8mm, excuse me. You can use a sock, I find, for a gear jammer. That's why that's there. Seems to work pretty good. I'm going to slide the clutch body out now. I'm going to go ahead and put a mark right here, and that'll signify which side is which, because you want to put them back in the same order. At least that's what I've been told. So that's what we're going to do. Just bending down the tab, and then we're going to take that nut off. Here's another simple good idea. Just take some string of something or rubber or whatever and just tie it in place. Aren't going to lose the order then. Alright, so our balancer shaft gear appears to have been monkeyed with at least once, because these are supposed to be against this. The positive side is I don't have to bend them, but those are supposed to be against that nut. Like I was saying before, you really don't need a gear jammer. I find an old sock or a rag does just as good. I used the impact gun on this guy because it was really on there. Alright, so we'll get this balancer off here, this balancer gear. There's a little Woodruff key on this shaft. There's also one here for your primary drive gear. And apparently these gears are also timed. There's timing marks on them. Probably can't see with my hand in the way. There's little timing marks on these gears, so I guess that's something we'll have to pay attention to. And those are supposed to be like that when you put it back together. Alright, so there's 2 washers, one on this side and there's one underneath. And then there's another one of those lock rings. So I'm going to go ahead and work my way getting that out, and then next I'm going to remove this shifter shaft. Seemed to come out really nice and easy, so it's probably not bent. That seems loose. So I think I'm going to have to invest in the rest of the bearings. This one also seems a little loose. This guy's not so much. So this is on its way out. This one's bad. This one actually seems solid. I'm going to go ahead and remove the stopper arm next, and then we're going to go on and I'll zip these off. Of course, my retainer screws are all stuck, and they're the best kind of screw, Phillips. So we're going to use the old special driver, number 3 here. Give it some smacks, see if I can get it to loosen up. Okay, well, the old hammer torquer here got 1 and got 2 to spin. But this guy over here, we aren't having much luck. It's actually starting to mar it just a little bit. And you know, this is exactly why I hate Phillips. Took a little torch heat here to the body that the screw is screwed into. And as she cooled down, I gave her a couple more strikes and she came loose. So even though I didn't buy the fancy clutch fork, I did buy a flywheel puller. Gone ahead and buttered her up with some of the excess transmission oil here. And this is a counterclockwise turn-in, so I'm going to just go ahead and get this spacer out of there and then screw it on in. And we are inside the stator. It is oily, which kind of tells me that that seal is donezo. Alright, so mine was really stuck in there. Normally they just slide right out, but mine did not want to. So I recommend, if that happens to you, to grab onto this shield tab here, but don't grab the wires. Make sure you miss those when you do it. and give it a good pull. It will come out, but my goodness, I'm sure that I'm not the only one that's had them in that tight. Okay, gonna start turning out these bad boys. And I got my little ugly case hardware pattern, and I'm gonna stick those screws in because I guess they're all different lengths, so that'll help keep it all organized. Alright everybody, getting the old case splitter hooked on in here. Just gonna make a Y. Hold it into the case here, and hopefully it'll do its job. I sure hope so. Alrighty, starting to separate. Come on, be split. Nope. I heard it pop. Come on. Back gear body looks decent. Decided to take some time here in the natural light to talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. So I'm pretty sure this was the bearing sound we were hearing, because on the mains I'm not getting any kind of travel like that. Now that doesn't mean I ain't going to replace them. I got a new crank, I might as well. This seal was definitely a problem. You can kind of see there's the spring there. That's supposed to actually be in a channel here. You're not supposed to be able to see that from this angle. She was definitely sucking in her oil right there. I'd like to talk a little bit about this orange muck we're seeing, and to demonstrate something here. I've seen this before. When I worked on my Zundap Rickman, it had a lot of that present in the case too. This is actually magnetic. You can see that I'm moving the material with this magnet as it's jumping right to the magnet. The material in here is also somewhat magnetic. I've been able to get a little bit of reaction from it. Not much, but look at that. It's pulling right through my, it's on my nail. These are ridiculously strong magnets. I mean, look at that. Pick up the gravel. Here's another look at that main. See, that actually seems pretty good. So, I mean, realistically, I could probably, I kind of feel bad pulling these because these are the Japanese. They're the originals. I guarantee you these haven't been replaced. I'll probably hang on to these bearings, but I am going to pull them for now. That's the clutch basket bearing, I'm pretty sure. That guy's definitely bad. This little guy don't seem too bad. Well, no, it's loose too. So yeah, bad, 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 and most likely bad, bad, bad on the other side too. Bad seals, bad connecting rod. So now I'm going to go ahead and probably clean up on this a little bit. Okay, just remove the gear body on the transmission and the balancer shaft. They just pull out. Same with these forks and the shafts. They just pull right out. It's not really a big deal. The gears look to be in pretty good shape, as are the sliding dowels here. All that stuff looks good to me. It's kind of interesting. These gears look really good. The counterbalance gears and all that stuff over here had quite a lot of corrosion on them. I don't know what the deal is with all this corrosion in this engine. The shifter body here, it's pretty damn corroded there on the two bottom pegs, but everything else is pretty healthy. Okay, families, here we go again. Okay. You know what? She's loose. Well, now she's loose. Thank you for your service. Well, besides the bearings, pulling them, and cleaning up the case, that's basically torn down. I don't have my tool for pulling the bearings, so I'm just going to go ahead and start cleaning up stuff.